You're listening to Edging the Truth.
All right, everybody, hello. Welcome to episode 10 of Edging the Truth. We have reached the double digits. I am Brian Shenanigan. Below me, as always, is Anthony, Big Fudge, Johnson. I just put Johnson in there for no reason.
Big tone here.
We got Mikey One Lung in the corner here, and we got Red, Big David over here on the side.
Big David.
And,
only my parents called me David.
Yeah, nobody has ever called him Big David in his life. The man is like 5'7" and 125 pounds. What about that is big to you, Brian?
Name too. You are already 0 for 2 with these intros,
right.
buddy.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. All right. Episode 10, Edging the Truth. The St. Patrick's episode. We're all a little inebriated already. I think that's safe to say. Some more than others. Some know the vibe. Some do not. You know the vibes. But
I know there's a
but
train
today we are talking about leprechauns. Long see, it's only a train wreck if you acknowledge it's a train wreck. Keep it on the rails, fellas. All right, keep it on the rails. Episode 10, we're talking about leprechauns, guys. Leprechauns, modern construct. If you really get into the thing of it, I will say, especially in my family, my grandma always said leprechauns were fucking shite. It was always a classic thing. Don't get my grandma going about a few things, and leprechauns was one of them because she said it was racist. And you know what? I always thought that was crazy, but she is rightist. Because let's just talk about St. Patrick's Day as a holiday, I guess, is what kind of started the leprechaun, because the leprechaun and St. Patrick's Day kind of go hand in hand. And St. Patrick's Day, a lot of people know if you watched, some of the older movies, I believe even your Titanics and whatnot, that the Irish people were a looked down upon people for a long time, villainized, a lot of things, like for quite a while. They were everybody's punching bag for hundreds of years. And so in America, they wanted to basically make it so people were more inclusive and accepted the Irish and all that stuff. And that's what made St. Patrick's Day, is that basically they wanted to be inclusive and basically like, hey, the Irish are all right. And that's why they adopted. I mean, that's literally it. That's literally it. I mean, that's how a lot of our politics were back in the day. Like, hey, they're all right, aren't they? Come on. But leprechaun was something that basically was kind of born about that time. It's a modern construct. If you really look at the old mythology of the old country, there are very little reference. Now, there's reference to a lot of little people. I will say the Irish had a lot of little people. There was little people garden stuff, your garden little people, your guard your food. Like there was something for everybody. Your bathroom little people. There's little people everywhere. But that's also true across a lot of cultures. Like the gnomes, especially with the Norwegians, the gnomes is like a huge thing with them. I mean, on the other side of my family, like. Big gnomes, like really like all about that life. Gnome everything, gnome this, gnome that. If you're Norwegian, they're all about those gnomes. But but all over the world, it's, little people are kind of always a thing. It's always just kind of that there's always little spirits, little whatever around. But in this particular case of the, Irish culture and history, not really a thing. It was very minorly mentioned in some stories that only are like loosely interpreted. You can be like, yeah, that maybe was a leprechaun. That's not what they called it, but that's what it was. I mean, yeah, they don't appear. They don't appear on the folklore. The Irish could buy their own folklore. They're just not in there. They're just gone. So it's but the closest thing you can find is it's a term called leucopain, which is like old Gaelic or whatever for little person or small body is probably more accurate. And even then, like, I read a lot of things, watched a lot of videos that we had on here. And so it's like, you see that there was a lot of like stuff that goes back to ancient Greece and all of these things that could have morphed into this word leprechaun we know, but it's still a modern cult construct. It's a modern construct. taking elements of common things at the time. The one thing I kind of got from all this is like, who knew that shoemakers and cobblers were so vilified in history? That they were shady, sneaky ass people. That it was like, they're making your shoes. Like, how shady is your shoe guy? You know, like, but like working on shoes, and the whole pot of gold thing was because they made so much money working on their shoes that they had a pot of gold. Like, I was like, I never realized that was shoe gold they were hoarding over there. I thought it was always like, oh, it's a mythical pot of gold, like a magic gold. It's like, no, that's what money he made from shoes. You're really stealing this poor guy's life savings that he kept in a pot. But just like I said, lots of little people. And the whole other thing about the leprechauns too was that just they were. So I was reading my notes. That they were tied, like it's like a magic thing. It's like they're tied to gifts and wishes, like almost like a genie. And that there's this whole concept that even goes back to, I guess, like back to the ancient Greece stuff. That like if you surrender to somebody, you can basically give them 3 wishes for them to spare your life. Like, you know, to do whatever that they can say, whatever, and do those 3 things to spare your life. And that's kind of what that goes back to. And that's why all of these kind of mythical beings, because they get captured. I captured leprechauns, so he gives you the 3 wishes to escape with his life. And that's kind of a common mythos throughout this whole thing. And honestly, if you just go to brass tacks of Wikipedia, it just says mythical creature right in there. So, like, you know, most of our stuff is conspiracies and seeing if there's stuff that people believe in. I'm going to go with this is just a mythical creature. It is more or less a modern construct of something that was attached to this, which even if you kind of look at like a traditional leprechaun with the buckles and the shoes and everything, it frankly looks more pilgrimish than Irish, you know? And it's just, like I said, it's just a modern thing, the happy drunk that has money, and a lot of it is still really racist things attached to the leprechaun character. But it's still the happy-go-lucky Irishman that everybody wants to hang out with because he's got money and wishes, you know? So it still was all a thing to just kind of try to unvilify a people. A leprechaun, in essence, was one of the most original marketing campaigns of, I guess, to be honest, the U.S. government, because that was who wanted to make it better for the Irish. So it's interesting. And so to go on the other flip side of it, there's people that believe leprechauns are real. Oh, yes. I Googled some videos on that stuff, and boy, there are some people that are for sure think leprechauns are real. Some think they live in their houses, things like that. And none of these are Irish people. Let me just follow up with that. There's not an Irish person in any of those videos that did that. But yeah, so basically I'm going to open it up to the other guys here. You know, I think a lot of us maybe got the same source material, watched the same YouTube stuff and everything, read some of the same Wikipedias. So I'm going to throw it to you first, Fudge. What do you think? Leprechauns, real, not real? And then just what do you think about leprechauns in general?
This shit's fake as fuck, dog.
Wow, he's like, all right, thanks. Next? He's like, who's next?
No, I don't believe this for a second. I think you hit on it really, really well, Brian. You know, it was a marketing campaign. You know, they started doing the St. Patrick's Day parade to improve the image of Irish immigrants in America and, you know, make them, I don't know if scary is the word, but just make them more appealing, show that hey, we're not so bad, we're just drunk and small and we wear the color green. But I also thought it was interesting what you said about the clothing, because they're usually seen in, you know, like the top hat with the buckle on their shoes. Like the first writings about the leprechauns, they were like wearing like medieval type garb or whatever. So it sounds like other myths and fake shit that we've talked about on this podcast before, that it just there are stories of it throughout history, and each story kind of fits into whatever part of history it comes from, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I think the only really compelling thing to me was the article about the students from a university in Scotland that went to an island off the coast of Ireland that's only like 9 miles wide or something like that, and we're doing like an archaeology dig, and they found leprechaun bones. So they did the dig and they found the bones that of a mature adult male, I believe, or it might have just been mature adult. So old adult that was like just over 3 feet tall, maybe just a little shorter than 3 feet tall. But there was like no signs of dwarfism or anything like that. And I don't know, we talk about it on the podcast before, bones and poop. So that's one compelling thing. I'm excited for you guys to maybe bring up some more stuff to convince me a little more, but I'm just not about it. Can we go to Red next?
Okay. Yeah. Also, Red, can we pull the picture from that article? Because I think there's only like 1 or 2 pictures from that article. Can we show those?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so let's show those pictures because basically I'm going to say like this was just a baby. This was just a baby, a dead baby that somebody buried in an island because it is just a small, perfectly proportioned human like a baby. But, but show the pictures. Let the people see the only shred of any evidence of leprechaun we could find in all the stuff that we saw. So I'm going to throw it over to...
This is perfect. This is perfect, you guys. Let me... Brian... is now, as soon as we show him bones and poop, of course he's walking it back. Like, now he needs more. Now the one thing he's asked for the whole time. Well, you know what?
Oh my God.
I'm
don't
tired of this
leprechaun
shit.
Bones and I still haven't seen leprechaun poop. So I only got one of 2 criteria. We need 2 criteria.
Do you think leprechaun poop is rainbow colored?
Poop. It's got to at least have sparkles. At least.
It's something.
Well, at least sparkles. And that's the whole thing of leprechauns also so close to dwarves and all of this whole, like that whole mythology. There's a lot of little people things. So, Mr. Rasmus, leprechauns, yes, no. Tell me your thoughts. Get into it.
I think we'd have a drink before we get too far.
I was going to
do you have anything for us?
As a matter of fact, I went to the store today and I've got 4 bottles. Why don't I just put these right in the middle and we can all reach and grab them. If I just kind of stick them over here, can everybody grab one? Yeah, let's all pull one out. Now we're talking.
Mine's big as fuck.
Oh man.
What?
Dang. See, that's what we call luck of the Irish right there.
I can't get a bigger one? Look, I can't. I try to get...
It must be something about where Fudge lives. I don't know how that worked, but...
Is it because of travel to the East Coast?
Mm-hmm. I guess it just grows over time. I mean, mine's I got the little one.
Yeah.
Well, how about a toast? A toast to those that believe in leprechauns, because as it turns out, over a third of the population of Ireland believes in leprechauns, and who knows how many more people in the world what that percentage is. But in spite of the fact that the church in England has tried everything they can do to stamp out these beliefs, in spite of all that, a third of Irish people still believe in leprechauns. So here is to you, all you leprechaun believers. Cheers.
Here's to you.
That was a goddamn long toast.
There it is, boys.
Some Irish whiskey for us all. Yeehaw!
Let's
Yeah,
start sipping whiskey. Whoa,
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's
that's a guzzling whiskey. I think that was a sipping whiskey.
It's been a while since I had Irish whiskey. That was nice.
That's a sipper.
I have not. I have not had warm Glenfiddich in quite a while.
Well, I think I'm probably with Fudge here. I'm not. The stories of bones and evidence, I think, are fascinating. I think the 3 stories that stuck out were the whole finding of this chalice that's now a national treasure in Ireland. That was in these, they have these giant burial mounds. They're also kind of referred to as fairy forts. And this, supposedly a leprechaun was protecting this chalice, and the farmer found it, and blah blah blah. And that's one of the concrete truths where gold has come from a leprechaun, supposedly. There's the guy that found the little miniature shoe that was, about that big. If you're watching this on video, maybe that big. That of course couldn't possibly be made for a doll. That the craftsmanship was just too high caliber for it to, or a prank even. We have the what's the story of the one in the Carlingford leprechaun, where supposedly a little suit and some bones were found by a man while hiking, and nearby 3 or 4 gold coins. Of course, none of these things have been tested. The leather from the shoe hasn't been tested because no one wants to take a snip of the fibers. The bones haven't been tested because they're in a case, in a shadow box at this bar in this town. It doesn't seem like, and again, going back to sources, most of the sources that I looked at said you don't really see leprechauns as a distinct thing until medieval times, 800 AD, let's say, that leprechauns are kind of part of this group of fairies in Ireland that also includes, the banshee, this kind of scary fairy, fairies that we think of like, fairies that we think of with like the wings and that sort of
Fairy
thing.
folk.
Yeah, scary fairies. And then, of course, mermaids are also part of this too, right? Like that Ireland has this great tradition that mermaids are also fairies, and that leprechauns and mermaids and fairies and banshees and all these other things all are under kind of one umbrella. And despite that, leprechauns are a very late addition to that grouping, and also starts to fade out. But again, one of my favorite quotes from one of these shows was, "Those who believe the least have the most to fear." It's these kinds of things that perpetuate the idea of them continuing, right? A sense of fear. And the Catholic Church, or not the Catholic Church, the Church of England, really did put the fear that believing in these things was contrary to their Christian beliefs. Mm-hmm. And so, every 30 years, according to one of these documentaries, you see this sort of push to eradicate it, if you will, from cultural thinking and cultural lore. But then here in the United States, we got fucking Lucky Charms. We've got a leprechaun for the symbol of the Boston Celtics. We've got a leprechaun for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The image that we have of redheads, and I count myself a redhead, although there's not much left.
We can see the ginger on you.
With the beard and the green suit and the buckled shoes and all that business. It's not going away. And I grew up with Darby O'Gill and the Little People and those kind of somewhat mythic, still fairy tale-ish versions, and they didn't feel, I've never driven to the end of a rainbow to find a pot of gold, to find a leprechaun there. So
again, I've never had a bowl of Lucky Charms then.
I've had plenty of Lucky Charms.
Also, it was a grocery store at the end of that rainbow with Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
Quickly, Brian, I think I have like $1 billion idea for us. We need to open up a male strip club on the Strip in Las Vegas called the Fairy Fort. It's perfect. it's
there.
Perfect.
You go.
Documented. Nobody can steal it. We documented it right now.
Nobody can steal it. Trademark.
Nobody can steal it. This is trademark.
By the time this comes out, don't even fucking try it.
Yeah, that's right. 2022, Edge in the Truth Inc. Trademark.
We'll have fairyfort.com locked down before this airs.
I think the Fairy Fort would do good, but yeah, it would be all guys, and you couldn't wait to see the clientele. So
now coming to us live from the Fairy Fort, let's go to One Lung.
Yes, yeah. One Lung. So yes, to you, my friend, what are you, leprechauns, yes or no, and your thoughts on leprechauns in general?
So I think there's a couple of interesting things here. And the first thing is that I don't believe in leprechauns. Okay.
I thought you were about to go hard.
That's interesting.
Go really hard.
I wasn't sure there, One Lung. I thought maybe you're going to say
go hard at this.
I'll drink to that. Lines? That's a four-way right there, boys.
We got a unanimous.
I guess you get another one.
Oh, I got to open it.
A different brand.
So I will say this. So the fact that it's a newer construct doesn't immediately like make me run away from the idea of leprechauns, because we actively are finding new creatures, new animals on a regular basis. So just because it's new doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that there's not a lot of history on it, right? But here's where I kind of lean away from it. It's the fact that there's not a lot of physical facts around it, no physical evidence around it. There's very little to go off of, and the bones that are found on the island, even that, is a stretch. So I really would have to find more. But I will say that leprechauns are real in one way, and the way is in a very lucrative manner. If you look in the United States, since leprechauns were kind of constructed and created, the amount of money that is made off of the theory and the mythos of leprechauns is incredible. And the fact that a third of Irish people today believe in leprechauns is a proof that media and campaigning can really change the mindset of not just a nation, but an entire people, like, and what you think. Like, it's incredible to think about how on a daily basis media changes the way that the outlook of the world is reflected. And so I don't believe that the creature is live and well, but I do believe that the mythos is 100% alive. So for me, leprechauns, nah, probably not. But the idea of leprechauns, yes, 100%.
Well, and one of the things we talked about this very early on when we talked about doing this as a topic for an episode, one of the things that strangely enough came up was a park in Portland that is supposedly the quote unquote home of a leprechaun. It was marketed as such when it became a park in the city. And let's be real, I'll also throw a picture of this up. This park is about 1 meter square.
We can visit it next week when we're all in town.
Yeah, it is a nothing. And it has actually moved multiple times along this main thoroughfare. It's kind of like in the middle of a big kind of two ways.
It's on NATO,
a couple of lanes
Parkway.
on each way. Right.
NATO Parkway down in Portland.
And there's like a little spot where you can cross the street. And right where that little center thing is a little tiny park. And it's supposedly home to a leprechaun. Well, we're going to find out. Now, it's moved. So do they dig up where the leprechaun lived and the leprechaun's home moved along with the park?
Yeah, they go through a whole. They get permits from the city, and they dig it up and
that's
they move it.
mentioned endangered animal. Got to get all those permits for moving endangered animal.
I will say I have actually been to the end of a rainbow before, and I have not seen any leprechauns at the end of the rainbow. So there's that as well. But as a smaller gentleman, I'm 4'11". I'm all about a whole colony of little people. So I would appreciate it if it was real, but my heart says no.
Little.
Hey, not the bones that they found were 3 feet. That's not that little.
All right, well, that's still too little to have sex with. All right, let's just say it. All right.
Oh, you had to bring it there, Brian.
Gross.
Of course
Brian.
you did.
Jeez, Brian.
You get your mind out of the gutter, sir.
I mean,
sir.
Every episode we got a clip of Brian going there.
Yeah, just Brian just being filthy.
It's on brand. It's on brand.
It's on
brand.
It's like girls that Brian has slept with because of reasons, and then things that Brian would like to see people have sex with.
I mean, that's an episode. Is we get all we see how many girls we can get to call into the voicemail that have had sex with Brian and talk about their weird. I think, and not talk about the sexual experiences. I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing about it, but they all seem crazy in their own right. So they probably believed in some crazy shit. That, you know what? I wouldn't mind listening to for a couple minutes.
Yeah,
we take Brian down memory lane. We all have a good time. Anyway, Leprechaun.
Brian doesn't look like he's gonna have a good time.
This is Shannon. Shannon believes in ghosts, and we go on with that.
Brian and I banged 5 times in various haunted houses. Various haunted houses.
She saw ghosts when I was choking her, so that was her thing. But you guys want to go down that path?
What?
I just want to know, Brian, as our resident Irishman. I mean, I'm a little tiny bit Irish, but I'm mostly Scottish.
I'm part Irish as well.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. As our resident Irishman, have either of you gentlemen ever put on a leprechaun costume?
Oh, hell no.
No.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Even celebrating St. Patrick's Day.
I've been asked to.
I have. There you go.
If any of us would have put it on, it would have been Mikey. Actually, no, I would have believed Red did it.
everybody in my family knows.
I get requests for leprechauns and Oompa Loompas all the time.
Yes, well, of course, if you're short, that's what you give, of course.
Oompa Loompa,
I was conceived on St. Patrick's Day. My brother was conceived on St. Patrick's Day. Like, this is a huge holiday.
The fact that you know that.
Oh, it was a huge holiday for Red's family.
You learn.
Huge.
You learn.
Well, let me bring this back.
But I don't know anybody
so...
that ever dressed up as a leprechaun if it wasn't for like a paid gig or advertising purposes or a mascot costume or something like that. It's not like it's revered if you are one in that way.
I don't ever hear of anybody dressing up for one as Halloween, really.
No,
right?
I think about all my friends.
Seen it, but
it's not a Halloween costume though.
It's not a Halloween costume, right?
It's a next Thursday costume. It's a St. Patrick's Day costume.
Yes.
All right, so let me say so a few things. Yes, I will say that the bones in that video could also have been alien bones. That's a whole other episode. Okay, that those are just one-off alien bones, and that's tiny.
You're
alien,
admitting to the potential existence of alien bones. What the hell?
Oh, well, I've been on this before. That's what That's what I'm saying. I was like, aliens explain a lot of things. So this could be just a one-off aliens. All right.
Just a one-off aliens.
Can everybody please go back and listen to our aliens episode?
Shame on you, sir.
Yeah.
I just don't
shame
on you,
bro.
So, but let me just say, like in general, like I said, my grandma, like I said, she was all about that fairy folk life, as a lot of the old folks are, but she hated leprechauns because she thought it was a bastardization of the culture. Because it was like all this other stuff. Like she believed a lot of stuff. Grandma would throw hands over many things. She would throw hands over someone saying an S on the end of our name. She would throw hands for that. Let me just say that. Like I said, she was like the spelling, always the spelling.
She would hate our group then.
Yes, always the spelling. So it's but it's like but she was like that, and even the so to go to the Darby O'Gin Little People. Hated that movie. She hated that movie. And it's funny because when Disney Plus first came out, and that was one of the first movies on there, and like the girl I was dating at the time was like, we got to watch this, and like I had to watch that in years. And I'm like, wow, this does not hold up. Like this is not very a lot of stereotypes and stuff going on in here that are no bueno they should put this next to Song of the South in the vault there. But even like in the 60s, Ireland adopted the leprechaun for tourism, and it did not go over well. It was like when people show up and be like just doing all the racist tropes, like top of the morning to you, give me a shillelagh kind of thing, like to you every day. Like, could you imagine that coming every day? Like when here it's like if I'm living in Vegas, like the hot enough for you? How can you live here? It's so hot. I mean, God, every single person. Oh, the heat, huh? How about the heat?
This is Sin City, not Disneyland.
Not Disneyland, and it's hot. How can you live in Sin City? Yeah, but it's like that's that same kind of thing. So when you hear that every time somebody comes, like, where's the leprechauns at? Every time, all day.
How
so
do you
the
know
Irish
that's what
people
I say immediately after I come.
leprechauns at? Or top of the morning to you? Which
you
one?
You expect to hallucinate every time you come?
Maybe like top of the morning to you right after you.
Yeah, dude.
That's my finisher wording. Top of the morning.
Oh yeah, can you imagine?
But yeah,
top of the morning to you.
If you look at the Wikipedia,
after you're done showing her your shillelagh, am I right, Brian?
You know about that shillelagh.
I'll give you my 3 wishes.
But if you even look at the Wikipedia for Leprechaun, it is so short. It is small. There is not much to it.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
They talk more about the variations in a leprechaun's clothing. Not just the Wikipedia page, but like the mythology wiki. Yeah. Every big article about leprechauns.
Sometimes they wear red.
Half of the discussion is about the variations in their clothing. The other half is every other bit of information there is. So that just kind of goes to show you that.
Can we talk about one thing real quick, though?
No.
The Leprechaun movies and how evil those fuckers were.
Let me just say that, like, the Leprechaun did more for Warwick Davis. I mean, he made more money on that than he ever made on the Star Wars movies. And I will just say that Leprechaun in the Hood may be
that's where I was about to go.
Cinema. Though, I mean, there's a lot. all the other Leprechaun movies had something, but Leprechaun in the Hood was a Snakes on the Plane-esque movie that, like, just you could not. It holds up. It holds up for how horrible it is.
Well, speaking of that, my favorite Leprechaun evidence or sighting ever is one of the most viral internet clips from the early 2000s from Mobile, Alabama, in the Christian neighborhood, the Christian Leprechaun, where they do it. The local news does a story on it, and they cut to it, and it's just like these just tons of people, and it's like, yeah, if you've seen the Leprechaun, say yeah, and they're like, yeah, and then they cut to a lady who's like, well, it could be a crackhead. You don't know what what they got their hands on. It could be some shit. They could be telling them that they're a leprechaun to get in the tree. So the Leprechaun only came out at night, and it was in a tree. If you shined a light on it, it would disappear. But they cut to an artist's rendition of the Leprechaun and read, "Please tell me you can put this on the screen."
I'll put it on the screen. Absolutely.
It looks like somebody in the first grade drew it on a legal pad. And it's one of my favorite videos ever, and I was so happy Red included it in our links.
For amateur sketch, I think you should just throw up this meme. Who else seen that Leprechaun? Just put that meme up on the screen.
I would like to
we can just insert it if you want. If you want, we can just insert it right here.
I think you should.
That's what she
I'd like to
said.
propose this post.
I'll just play.
Title of Red sex tape.
So all four of us finally agreeing that leprechauns do not exist.
I'm 100%.
I don't think "finally" is the word. We agreed within the first 5 minutes of the episode.
I just want to drink again. Let's do this.
Yeah, I like it.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Have a drink with us as long as you're not driving.
How many of these am I supposed to drink?
Oh, that is
Warm liquor.
It's getting warmer. It's getting warmer.
It's crazy once you get to the third one. You don't even need a chaser anymore.
By the third one, I don't feel nothing. I'm just like, wow.
My mouth is tingly.
My test buds are burned out at this point.
It's funny to me too that these, leprechauns are portrayed, at least in mythology, as not really being mean-spirited. It's always about mischief, but in good fun, and nothing that really damages. Like that was saved for other spirits. Like there was one story where they talked about the fiddler walking down the road, and he comes upon a bunch of leprechauns, and they're like, "Come hang out with us and come play the violin, and we'll give you gold, and it's gonna be this awesome time." And he hangs out with them and plays and plays and plays and fills his pockets with gold. He gets home, he's been gone for 2 years, and his pockets are filled with horse crap.
Yeah,
like it's not. Yeah, it messed up the guy's life, but it's not about hurtful. It's not physical harm. It's not,
There was a Disney movie.
Yes, that's exactly where my mind went. Same page.
Called Luck of the Irish.
Yep.
And the guy was so tricky. Like he's like, "Oh, you have 3 wishes," but then he was really tricky with the wishes, and like, oh my god, like what a jerk face.
In that movie, it was like the kid is in high school. He finds out that the kid is in high school. He finds out his grandpa is a leprechaun, and then that's like a good leprechaun. And then they have this like red-haired, ugly dude with a beard.
Yeah,
kind of looks like Brian. He doesn't look like Brian at all. That is evil and is trying to, like, I don't even remember what he was trying to do. Like, they play basketball and
and then they river dance.
And
this is like a recent movie, isn't it? 2001. Oh my god.
Yeah. There's a guy in chains standing on the basketball hoop. But yeah, that's a really shitty recap of Luck of the Irish. Yeah.
Wow. It's got the Malcolm in the Middle kid in it.
Yeah.
Does it? No, it's got the other kid in it.
That's not
the middle one.
That's not the right.
Isn't that the middle one? Isn't that Reese?
It's the Luck of the Irish.
That's not Reese. Live on the podcast. Disney Channel original movie. Parts of the movie were filmed at
It's got Ryan Merriman as Kyle Johnson. But I'm looking for the guy that was the
15-year-old basketball player Kyle Johnson, Ryan Merriman.
Yeah, Timothy O'Munson.
Character actor.
Timothy O'Munson was the guy with the ugly guy on there, and he plays a really good character. Man, he did a great job.
See, he does.
He's been in a lot of things.
What? Looks more like Lung than Brian.
He does look like one lung. Yeah, no, it's one lung. It's one lung. It is one lung.
No, it's not. It's not me at all.
That's exactly you, dude.
You see the nose and the glasses.
No.
You can see it. If you put an oxygen hose on that picture, same person.
Reject your reality.
I agree.
And insert my own.
Same person.
All right, hold on. Here, 15-year-old basketball player Kyle Johnson is depending on a gold charm for luck as he learns that he is a leprechaun on the side of his mother. He needs to get it back to break a spell controlled by an evil leprechaun named Seamus McTiernan, who stole
what an Irish name.
Look at the pictures. Just looking at the pictures of this, it's such a piece of crap. It is a Disney teen crap show.
It was a fun movie to watch.
That was back when Disney was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my god.
100%.
No, the Disney Channel original movies, not the the old. You know that was
remakes of stuff.
Yeah, this was a good movie.
Just wait, they'll remake this again too.
Like this was like Disney Channel, not like a Disney fucking actual good movie. I should preface that.
Not like
Disney
Tron or the
Channel.
Black Hole.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Black Hole, how about another shot of Black Bush?
How about Black Bush?
Dude, all right,
Black Bush.
So, do we have any more business to talk about Leprechaun?
Well, let me just wrap up the end of this here. Let's take another shot here. Let's wrap up this episode.
Hold on, let's do the shot first.
Let's shot at McShottons. I got a closer here. Man, Leprechaun dancing your eggnog.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh, I did all four of those. Fuck me. I'm drunk.
Lung's going to town.
I'm drunk, boys. Let's go.
I think I'm drunk, boys. Let's go. Are my eyes even open right now? Are we in the closed eye podcast at this point? All right, fellas. So let's put a bow on this thing. It's been a good time. St. Patrick's Day, modern constructs. Underlyingly a little bit racist, but also with good intentions because it was trying to de-vilify a people. Very successful in that. So
Let's not forget, St. Patrick was a Scotsman.
That too. And even then, like I said, if you really get back to that time period, like they were never too happy with the Catholics in general as it was. So it was ironic that the Catholic saint was the one they went after. But that's another story entirely for another episode. But
and on a serious note, if you're drinking on the St. Patrick's Day, don't drive.
Please.
Get an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi.
I know the prices are outrageous, but if you schedule one ahead of time and just know you're going to leave at 11 o'clock, you'll be happy you left at 11 o'clock too.
Yep,
so
100%.
Nobody wants to be out late on St. Patrick's Day. Let me just tell you like a quick Saint, but I mean, I was with a girl once. And she
tell it.
Was so Irish. She was so Irish. We were at the Irish bar where she hung out on a weekly basis. She was like, I dated this girl for probably 6 weeks. Her dad worked for See's Candies as a taster.
Yeah,
I got a lot of See's Candy in that 6 weeks.
Oh, did you get that? Did you get the chocolate covered almonds?
I love the turtles.
Those are my favorite.
Guy. I love a nice turtle, especially the peanut ones. You know the vibes. But she was super, and she had an alcohol problem, and I wasn't allowed to talk to her about it. She hated that I smoked weed, but she had an alcohol problem. I wasn't allowed to talk to her about it. And we went to, it was her bar. It was in the Valley in LA. And like we went in there the first time, and they were like, "Oh, this is the guy. This is the guy." Like obviously, she had been talking about weed at this bar. Everybody knew her. Everybody knew her. Oh, yeah. And I think some of them knew her like I knew her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like,
in the biblical sense.
The bartender came out from behind the bar and gave her a hug and all that stuff. So on St. Patrick's Day,
Brian,
we were at this bar at 7:30 in the morning.
Hell yeah, you were.
And we didn't leave that bar until 9 o'clock that night, and
Holy
only
shit.
because I had to fucking drag her passed out corpse out of there, like, because I wanted to go home and I wasn't gonna wait for her to wake up after I'd been at a bar for 14 hours. Your boy likes to party, guys.
Yeah,
but I had enough time to party, sober up, drink again, and be sober again, and go home. And somewhere in there, I had a corned beef and cabbage. So I mean, that was.
I've had nights like that, Brian. I know
you
the
can't
vibe.
drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
Yes, that's right.
Also, you got home
all night.
If you left at 9:30, that's a perfect evening. You're fucking drunk off your ass and in bed by 10 p.m. Amazing.
I can't argue.
And when I was 21 years old, the bar I went to when I was 21 was in the Sunset in San Francisco. It was an Irish bar. And we got so fucking hammered, and I woke up the next day with the bartender, and I don't remember any of that. And I was like, damn, I wish I would remember that, because she was worth remembering. But it was, I was 21. Quite a time. Drunken, Irish. And I know the boys wanted me to sing my shenanigan song, and I think we can cut a video of it here at the end, but this is the first I will tell the folks, look at this guy just going for an extra bottle.
He's going hard.
He's like in the crown.
Monarch's going hard.
But I trailed off because I was distracted by liquor.
You're gonna sing the drinking song right now, Brian.
Oh yes. No, I usually
sing it.
Well, this is where I get to finally tell the truth of drinking song, because I've been doing this bit for many months, and the reason why I never sing more than the first 2 verses of it in the song is because it's a super racist song. Like, super racist. Like, get you canceled racist. Verse 3, verse 9, verse 14, verse 18, all very, very racist. So we will never hear the full shenanigan song, because I will
until right now on the pod.
One good verse is all we need, buddy. One good verse with all your gusto.
Join the Patreon. Subscribe at our highest level to hear Brian.
All right, so for this, I'll give you the Glenlivet 12. We'll go with the 12 for this.
Very nice. Cheers.
So I can.
Cheers.
All right, so my name is Brian Shenanigan. I was named after a drinking song, a song from our family book of drinking songs. And yes, I have a family book of drinking songs because my family has generations of problems. Okay, so this is a real song. As I said a moment ago, we cannot sing the whole song because it is super duper racist. So I did not write this song. That's part of the reason I preface. I didn't write this. I didn't make this up. And I have heard other people unrelated to me sing this song out in the wild, which is wild because it is so racist. I couldn't believe a group of people was singing it.
Let's go.
Before the first.
Everybody up. Before the first. He's going to swill out of that bottle. Jesus Christ. Generations of problems. Brian Shenanigan, he is stands all but 5'3", no taller than Leprechaun. He will be Brian Shenanigan.
Another.
Verse 2. He sits under the apple tree, in his hand a bottle of whiskey. He will pee wherever he be. Brian Shenanigan.
Drink.
That song has 25 verses, you guys.
We're not gonna do 25 verses. It's starting to burn.
And as I said, things do get progressively worse for the young Shenanigan. Verse 3 is really racist. Verse 8, he's shagging some sheep. Verse 9 makes some very off-color things about the Pope. Verse 13 is where the sheep starts shagging him. And by the time we get to verse 25, guys, I don't even remember the words of verse 25, because if we get 25 verses of drunk together, we just all know the words.
Yeah.
And that is the Brian Shenanigan song.
Oh, Brian Shenanigan.
Shenanigan. Irish boy.
Well, we've got one more piece of business to play before we get the heck out of here. As we mentioned in our last
Leprechauns, no, unanimous. Drunk a good time, yes. All right.
It's a no on physical, a yes on, like, I don't know what the word is.
All right, Rummy, you're done. We're done with you.
We're hammered. We're drunk in the spirit of this holiday, as we've explained, this racist holiday.
It's a yes. It's a yes on like what's the word? Like marketing. Like there's a yes.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it is a real marketing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, 100%.
It has improved the image of the people. There is no lie to that. Leprechauns are synonymous.
And the amount of money that they make off of the Leprechaun ideal. Mm-hmm. Oh, the luck of the Irish shit from the casinos.
Yeah, everywhere here. There's a leprechaun in every freaking casino here. There's a slot machine. There's at least 7 to 10 slot machines.
But next week when you come, Brian. So just for the podcast
when
to know,
come, think about this.
No.
Just for the podcast.
Brian and Red will be in Portland with me next weekend.
Serious phone.
We will take a trip next to this park, and we'll see if there's a leprechaun there.
Yeah. So we have something very exciting, an exciting announcement that we want to say as the podcast. Bring it back full circle. We have a great sponsorship opportunity that has come up to us with someone that we were all a big fan of and everything. Red, will you give us more information?
Let's go, Red.
Well, I got a little video montage of Zicky, our Zicky Dice, a friend of the podcast, and we are sponsoring his next big event, Zicky Dice's Outlandish Paradise 2, Trouble in Paradise, taking place in Dallas, Texas, April 1st. There's been a bunch of little bits of media that have been posted, and we've got our own little montage version of that. You might want to prepare your ears. It gets a little loud.
Fellas, it's Outlandish Zicky Dice. Listen, things are in motion. I've got the sponsorship paperwork all signed. I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for making this possible, but it's a go. The biggest show of the season, Zicky Dice's Trouble in Paradise, live on April Fool's Day, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, Dallas, Texas. And one more thing. We got the green light. It's going to be at twitch.tv/Zicky Dice. So thanks to Edging the Truth. Get the truth out there. Everyone knows this is the biggest show possible, and I couldn't have done it without you. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Outlandish. Zicky Dice's Trouble in Paradise.
So for those of you just listening and didn't get to see what's going on there, that's just some announcement information about a couple of two of the matches that have come out so far. And if you look nice and closely, you will see our very fabulous Edging the Truth logo on all of those posters.
And if I can just say, the Speedball Mike Bailey versus FE match is also such a good match. Like,
so FE.
I've seen both in
treasure.
In person, and
FE is fine.
FE is fine.
He's fine.
But Speedball Mike Bailey is a great wrestler. So I'm really excited to see that match.
Put some shoes on. Shoes on. Okay.
All right. Brian's got an issue with shoes.
I don't want to see a wrestler's toe pads. Okay. I put on some shoes. He was at that show. He stepped all over glass, tore up his feet. Wear some goddamn shoes. Okay. If there's a death match in the building, put on some goddamn shoes.
This is
right,
the most
and
awful
Riddle,
thing
I'm
I've
calling you
ever
out
done.
too. Put on some shoes, Riddle. All right, there I said it. I'm going after all the wrestlers now.
If you
This
can't
is-
tell, we
Flip
have
it. We're
some
going after
wrestling
them all.
fans among this
No
crew.
shit.
Well, no
Keep
shit,
it in
bro.
your pants. Keep it in your guys' pants.
Hashtag, I love that Danhausen.
Speaking of hashtags, social media, please give us a follow. We just got our Facebook set up, so we're finally there at Edging the Truth. We're also at Edging the Truth on Instagram, Twitter. Go to the youtube.com/Edging the Truth. Like this video, subscribe if you've liked what you heard so far. Please call our voicemail line. I don't know the number off the top of my head because I never do, and I'm also hammered.
917-979-6071.
Listen to Red.
Listen to Red. Call the voicemail line not only if you are a former lover of Brian and you have a crazy story, but anybody. We want to hear what you have to say. We'd love to hear your crazy story, a wacky experience, a theory you have. Call the voicemail line. Let us know what you think, and we will have you on a future episode, or have your voicemail on a future episode, and we will discuss it just like this. We probably will not get as drunk and off the rails as we did this episode, because we're supposed to talk leprechauns. We didn't only talk leprechauns this whole time.
But we accomplished our mission. We need a small enough amount on leprechauns.
We did.
Like, I think it was.
I see what you did there, but we are so excited about this podcast. 10 episodes is nothing to scoff at. I know it seems like a small number, but it means the world to us that everybody that's listened, everybody that's followed us on any social media, showed any support at all, commented. We're not planning on stopping now. Obviously, with this sponsorship opportunity with Zicky Dice, we're so thankful to him, and we're so happy to help him out with the Outlandish Paradise 2. And we're looking forward to just going onward and upward to not only 10 more episodes, 110 more episodes, and just blowing the fuck up and edging all over you motherfuckers. But
all over.
Let's go, baby.
Happy
No
St.
further.
Patrick's Day.
Happy
Go to
St.
www.edgingthetruth.com for all of our episodes,
And be
ways to
safe.
listen, our bios if you want to learn more about us. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that good shit. But I'm
All right,
hammered. This is another fun episode.
One more sip, and we're out
One
of
more
here.
for the road.
Let's go,
More for the
baby.
road, fellas. So from Red Rasmus, One Lung Low, Big Fudge. I've been Brian Shenanigan. This has been episode 10 of Edging the Truth. To your health.
Cheers.
Check
Oh,
out
you
the
better
Fairy
take
Fort
that whole
coming
ship,
soon.
Brian. Red
Dude,
Rasmus,
this
you
is
better
like-
drink that whole thing.
This is like bottle 3.
Drink the whole thing, Red Rasmus.
Finish it.
Don't be a
Black
bitch
Bush.
about it.
Happy
Don't
St.
be a
Patty's
bitch
Day.
about
Call
Happy
a
St. Patrick's
fucking
Day.
Uber. Call
Yes.
an Uber.
Call an
a
Uber.
taxi.
Thank you
Drink
for
your
edging
drink. Have
outlandish.
fun.
Thank you for edging with
Outlandish.
us.
Thank you for outlandishly edging with
Edge
us.
it.
If you're
edge
in
it,
Texas,
edge it.
Nice.
Zicky Dice, Outlandish Paradise 2, Dallas, Texas.
Let's go, baby.
And if you're in St. George, Utah, you can see me on the 26th of this month.
Let's go!
Let's go, baby.
fucking go!
And
Go
don't
see
I'll
see
be throwing drugs in
Brian.
Vegas.
Come
Let's
see
go.
if you happen to get this the same week and you're in the Portland area, come see all of us because we'll be watching Ron Funches all weekend at the Helium Comedy Club in Portland. Tickets available at ronfunches.com. And that's been it, guys. Thank you, coming. Episode 10.
This has been
Episode 10.
Truth. Come to the Fairy Fort.
I'm drunk.
And we're out. Cut it.
Oh, I'm gonna have
Got it.
so much fun editing this one.
Visit edgingthetruth.com for more information and links to all our social media and podcast directories.